We've made a lot of changes. We went from the outboard motors to the electric motors. We have decided, for those that have any interest, on a net gain Hyper 9 HV motor. Net gain is the manufacturer, Hyper 9 is the model, and the HV means that we will be running our battery system at 144 volts. To enable that to happen, we have ordered 2 Beta Marine generator motors, marinized generator motors. They're Kubota diesels. They're 38 horsepower. Beta Marine marinizes them. They put some generator feet on them for us. The deep sump, a tail end on the flywheel that's appropriate for us to mount a pulley on with a secondary bearing there to take the extra side load. And we are going to run we're going to have 2 of these generators, these diesel motors. The generator head on each one will be another pair of Hyper 9 HV 144 volt DC motor heads. They work in generation just as well as they work in propulsion. Hence the regen capabilities, and partly why we show these. So now I'm going to show you some of the parts. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to be shaky, and it's going to be wobbly, and the sound, who knows what'll happen. But hopefully you'll get the gist of it. All righty, now I'm going to turn you off real quick, and we'll start moving. Here we have piles and piles of parts. We're going to run in out of the stern with the propeller shaft to this unit here. This is an Aqua Drive thrust bearing unit. So this will be bolted to a transverse bulkhead in the boat that is glassed in very stoutly, that actually takes all the thrust forward and reverse of the motor. On this end, we will have a coupling here that we had made. Bobby Soul's Propeller has helped us a lot with this. They did all the shaft work for us. We got our propellers from PYI out of Washington State. Great, they might be out of British Columbia. I'm not positive. They might be out of Vancouver. PYI, they're online. They're great. They helped us a lot. Off this coupling will come a jack shaft to another bulkhead, which will have just an ordinary flange bearing on it, which will carry a sheave, a triple belt sheave that the motor will drive. You'll see more of that as we come. Here's one of the propellers here, and we got the thrust bearings, and we got the flanges for the front of the thrust bearings, and we're gonna go see some more stuff. When you saw us, we were working on these guys here, these horizontal planes, and we're going to call them stabilizing fins. We've mentioned them before. They're to reduce ventilation to the propellers. They're to reduce pitching of the vessel. They're also to reduce squatting of the vessel under power. This whole shape needs help in those areas. And so these we expect to help a lot. Underneath that, you can see the 3-blade feathering max prop that we got from PYI. Again, a great company to do business with, very knowledgeable sailboat people. Here are the shafts. They're the 2 of the cutlass bearings are kind of stuffed in there for now. We're pretty excited about those. Can't show you the motors today, We have them at the electrical contractors. They're hooking one up to the other so we can start to get a graph on just how many amps we're going to be delivering at what consumption, and at what consumption, what will we get in regen. Some pretty exciting stuff there. I have an electrical engineer working on some battery choices for us, what type of lithium we're going to go with. Now I will go inside and show you just a little bit of what we got going on there. All right, we've moved up on deck, and from where you're looking at me now, you can't really see anything as much changed. But on the port side, we used to have, it was slated behind me there, that was going to be the workshop. And there was going to be a minimal gen set to supply some electric power for some air conditioning, you know, in a sweltering night. And if the power went away in the island they live at in the Caribbean. And that is kind of all morphed with the change over to an electric vessel. That generator that we originally planned is obviously no longer relevant. We have the two big generators going forward in the cockpit, which we'll look at in a minute. So this aft area that used to be the workshop is now a second head. It's the 3-cabin boat. This is not a high-performance racing machine. This is a comfort machine to go out and have fun on, and to feel secure and safe on, and have a really great time while we're doing it. Behind me on the swim platform, we're gonna have a couple of chairs so they can go out fishing. They live in a great place to go fishing. Why not? Go out with your buds, pound a few, catch some great fish, have a good time. I'll take a quick look and we'll show you inside the heads now. They're gray right now because, well, you know, all this weird stuff going on in the world right now. All grip white primer is like dust mask. When it comes in, it's gone, and you got to be on the list, and you know, and you have to run right down and get it. And right now, until the end of November, all that's available is gray. We decided we wanted to move forward on the fairing of the heads. So I'll give you a little glimpse of them and tell you what's going on in there. Bye. Okay, there we go. We got the light on. Okay, so this is the port side head. We got a couple of shelves in there. They got nice drain holes on the underside here. They slope forward. Obviously, stuff you put in there stands a pretty good likelihood of getting wet. You can see the bump there for the tank vent with its loop to prevent any waves from or inhibit any waves from infiltrating the tank. A couple more shelves over there. Gonna have a fold down seat in the back. We put this layer of primer on just to help us with the fairing. At a certain point, it becomes hard to see. You've been sanding and working on stuff, and so it becomes nice to see everything in one color. Now when we come in, we can see a bunch of stuff. We can go in and we can sand it all. This is all just level of finish. On some boats we work on, well, you know what, that would be done. We'd sand that off a little bit and we'd put some top coat on it, it'd be done. This is more of a special boat. It wants to be a little bit finer finish. We come up to the front part. We have the vanity cabinet there. You can see a shelf and a space for a drawer and a door, and another shelf up there. You can see it says mirrors all the way across that front bulkhead. And this is the shower here. So the shower will have an acrylic door a little bit hard to see. I'm kind of close, aren't I? Right, but it'll have a shower door in there, an acrylic door. It'll just clear the stairs. It'll swing open and it'll be easy enough to walk into. Now at this end, right in front of that stool will be the toilet. The toilet will be right over here as far as we can move it to this side and still have enough space to be comfortable against the cabinet. And putting the toilet out there allows us to have this separate stall shower so that we don't have a soak the head shower. It's pretty nice. There'll be another shelf across there. These are the stairs coming in and out. This area here, you can see we've got some door jamb stuck in there. That area will be closed off. Behind there will be the water heater, the fresh water pump, the pressure pump for the fresh water system, the overboard discharge for the black water tank. The black water tank is built in under here. I calculated it to be about 70 gallons. And then there'll be a pump in there to discharge it. Mirrors up top. Be a pretty nice head all in all. Over to this side we have some more shelves. Looks a little strange all in gray, but you know, for a guy like me, I've worked on a lot of Navy boats, it's kind of nice. I don't mind it so much. I think we'll get it white as soon as we can, but this is okay for this stage of the fairing and finishing process. We'll go look, well, you know what? We're not even going to look at the other side today. I'm going to take you to the cockpit. Okay, we're handheld here again. We're going to be a little shaky, you know. So there's our forward decks. They're slatted decks. We made composite planks. There's a gap, as you can see up front. They go all the way through, so any water landing there will dissipate quickly, drain off. That's where the longeron will go. It's off right now. It's behind the boat. We're working on that. This unit here, this was going to be the console, and we were going to have an outboard in each forward corner. That's Ixnay. And now the console actually has to house two 38 horsepower Beta Marine generator motors with the Hyper 9 HV electric motors in regen mode for electrical generation at 144 volts DC. You can see a pile of bimini legs that we custom built to wrap around this console. This console is only on the boat because we haven't taken it off yet. It's of no value here whatsoever. It does not work. It does not fit. We now have to move the steps over here and rework the whole concept of passing forward. On the long run, we actually switched to a real type of anchor road storage system. It's not exactly a windlass, it's a reel. It looks like a bait casting fishing reel. Winds up the road and then a chain right on the reel. It'll drop down in there. We have to, we cut off the old piece. The only thing we're really going to be raising up there will be a winch island with a seat in front of it. It'll be a very pleasant area. Out forward will be the trampolines and the sprit, part of the longeron. Over there's the guest cabin. Over there, we call it the bunkhouse. You could sleep easily 4 people in there. And you know, he has 3 kids, they have 3 kids, and they're gonna be having a blast in there. They can all see out of the hatch up top. Back here we have the cockpit tables. Back there, we're going to get a little bit of cabinetage, an ice maker, and a wet sink, as well as the 2 fishing chairs in the back. And there's, in that box, is one of the fancy Italian toilets. We're going to go downstairs now into the galley and the engine compartment and show you just a little bit. Okay, we're in the head now. We're going to have another little bit of a just a discussion of how we got here. These electric motors, I don't have a lot of experience doing this. Let's just say I've never done this before, right? And my client has high expectations. And we've talked to a lot of people. I've done a lot of homework on this. We talked to Torqeedo. We considered getting a system from them. It was pretty turnkey. It was very expensive. It was, when I say pretty turnkey, I just did this whole little spiel here, but I forgot to turn the camera on. So here we go again. I hope I remember it all. I was going to talk a little bit about how we got to where we are with the electric motors. We decided that we wanted to go with electric motors. I've never done this. This is a whole new ball game for me. And I have a client that depends upon me to provide him with a real high quality, low grief product in the end. High happiness quotient, let's say. And so, you know, we started off, we went and I got a quote from Torqeedo. They're some of the biggest names in the game. And, you know, they came in and they looked at what we got going on and they gave us a quote. And it was a lot of money. But, you know, in the end, when I started looking at that number and what they were providing, you know, not completely out to lunch. It was pushing 200 grand. And that involved us doing all the work and them coming in just at the end to say, yes, you did this all right, and make sure everything was, the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. It was pretty expensive. We decided that we could probably do what we needed to do, not only cheaper, but in a way that would be more serviceable. If we went with the Torqeedo thing, we had this huge battery that weighed 600 some odd pounds. I'm pulling that out of my memory. I don't remember, but it was more than a couple guys could lift and carry easily, especially if they're on their knees reaching out with their arms under a bunk or something. Ain't gonna happen, right? We needed something in a battery system that was more modular, more easily serviceable anywhere in the world, right? Okay, so we kind of ruled them out. We talked to Ocean Volt, we talked to Elko, we talked to Electric Yacht, we talked to, I hate to forget anybody, but we talked to a lot of people about what they had to offer and how. We talked to Beta Marine, and we talked to Tema Marine. We had kind of had an inside line with Tema. Our major electrical contractor was very in favor of Tema. You know, they had some good things going for them. In the end, we decided not to go with them. Part of the design focus in this whole deal is to have a boat that is not shut down in the marina because it's broken, right? We want to be able to go out and play with the boat and have a good time and not sitting in the marina waiting for a technician to fly into Grand Cayman. That's not the program. Now, to that effort, we've tried to make a lot of redundancies. We've ended up going with 2 generators, completely the same. Either one can charge either side of the boat. We have separate battery banks. We have a common house bank. that can interface with either main propulsion bank. Those are our main battery banks. We have 144 volt DC going right from the onboard generators to the propulsion batteries. Everything else will feed off those propulsion batteries. The drop down converters to get us down to 24 volt and 12 volt DC. Most of the electric loads on the boat will be, wherever we can, will be 220 volt AC. And secondary to that will be obviously 110 AC, then 24 volt DC where we can, and then 12 volt DC where it's appropriate. And that'll eliminate as much weight in wiring as we can and as much weight in transformers. It'll keep everything, I hope, as simple as can be. Is this going to be a simple boat? No. This is going to be pushing the scales on, wow, that's pretty cool stuff. I'm going to show you real quick, a quick shot down in the engine room. The motors are now gone. We have 2 motors in our possession now. We still need to get 2 more. Both motors we have are down at Voda Marine. They are our electrical contractors on this job. Great people. Been an enormous amount of help on this project. They are hooking one up to run the other one so that we can run one of them and put a known voltage and amperage into a motor and see what we get actually coming out to feed the other motor in regen. And so we're kind of looking forward to that and see how everything works, the controllers, the display screen that came with the motors. We have an electrical engineer involved to help us with some of the integration of all this stuff into a common, everything talks to each other, and so that everything is cool. We are at the present time, we've narrowed our battery choices down. We're going with a lithium iron phosphate system. Some of the parameters we have is they need to be modular enough so that we can manhandle individual components out for replacement as necessary on our knees in a foreign port with no support and have things flown in. That's kind of where it needs to be. We don't want to have to design things that need that, but you can't get out a 250-pound battery very easily. It takes special rigging, and we don't want to go there. So we're looking at individual components to build up to our 144 volts. That's quite a challenge. We have an electrical engineer involved trying to help us figure out the best way to proceed with that, and the different battery chargers we need, and DC to DC converters that we need, and generator controls that we need. That's a lot of electronic stuff, and guess what? That ain't really me, right? You know, I'm just going to make sure it gets installed right. So I'll give you a quick picture now down in the head. I'm going to turn this camera around. Not in the head, in the engine compartment. Maybe. I'm going to turn it off. Okay, so that's the dinette. There's the floor of the dinette, which is the overhead of the engine room. And at this point, it looks like we're going to be putting a very large soft patch in the floor of the engine room of the dinette, in the floor of the dinette, the engine room overhead, so that we can service the batteries. We're thinking that we will probably end up with another shelf at the front end to house the battery bank on each side. They're, as you might guess, pretty large. Part of the consideration of the battery choice is actually the geometric configuration of the battery itself, the weight of an individual unit and the size and the way that they can combine to make something that we can fit in here well. You can see the shaft coming in there. That'll come into a thrust bearing, which will be mounted on a bulkhead under this piece of plywood here. There'll end up being another bulkhead between, then there'll be a shaft between the thrust bearing and the flange bearing on the bulkhead. We'll have a drive pulley, drive sheave, 3-belt sheave on the end of that jack shaft close to the flange bearing that will go up to the motor. Motor not being here now. We're waiting on exactly to see which batteries we get so that I know exactly where the best place to put the motor. It could be up here closer to the front of this compartment, off to one side or the other. I have a water heater to go in here. We have, well, good golly, we have lots of stuff that actually wants to go in here. We got some cooling items and some pumpage issues, and but the batteries are kind of a big deal now. So we're kind of waiting to hear on those. And we're gonna go back upstairs. Well, first we're gonna look at the front end of the head. The missus, the owner, really wants a big oven in here. And we just could not get quite as big an oven as she wanted. We worked real hard on it. We got really close. We just couldn't quite get there. We're still putting a big electric oven in. It's big by a lot of standards. My standards, I guess, not hers. And and then a microwave. So they're side by side. You can see the reefer unit here. We've got it floated in foam. We built the box around the mold. It's all painted inside. We have shelves. You can see some of the cleats in there. And the shelves are all painted. We're ready to put the final layer of insulation on here and the countertop and fit our appliances in now that we have them. We've got pipes run down under that pipe. You see that pipe is for wiring. We have another pipe below there that is for the AC units that go, the AC lines, I'm sorry, they're not even AC, the reefer lines that go to the refrigerator freezer. They come down into there. Those floorboards on the side over here lift up. The compressors will be below decks here for the AC and for the reefer freezer. And then the cooktop goes over here. We have upper cabinets, but we're putting in this space that we're looking at right here where that upper cabinet would be, that will be, there will be certainly storage in there, but there will also be 3 electric winch motors in there. We're going to bulge it out a little bit and make it a little bit bigger, but that's a major component in there is the electric winch motors. And over here at this end will be the electrical panel for this hull. Be some overhead cabinets there and a shelf here. And this has been designated the liquor cabinet. And then the sink will be over here. We have a real nice sink and that is in hand. We have the cooktop in hand. We have the microwave in hand, and the stove, the oven should be here next week. And we'll get closer to putting all of this together. All right, so there's our tour for today. It's a little rough, it's a little ragged. Amazing, huh? And I hope everybody's staying safe. And I hope y'all enjoyed the update. We'll get back to you in the next week or so when we have some more cool stuff to share with you.